Steve, episode 42 of the Broadway block. Big 5-2 win, tie the series. How are you feeling today, Steve?
And what a time to be alive. I mean, this is exactly what you root for all season. This is what we're waiting for. And we're one of five teams left with a legitimate chance to knock out a team that we would have been favorited over this entire series. I mean, this is exactly what you root for. This is what the kids need. I mean, truthfully, would I be upset, if we lose tomorrow? 100%. But have we fully exceeded all expectations by not only ourselves but the fan base in general? I mean, this has just been a year to talk about, and it's just so fitting and poetic that we're in a game 7 again with our backs against the wall. We prove
Why
it.
not us?
Dude, here's the thing, man. Like, the Habs proved it last year. You just got to get into this conversation. That's really the thing. And I think once you get a little bit of some steam going, and Chesty, man, he looked last night like, breaking records again with every game.
But the resilience of this team, like every night, back against the wall, could be eliminated, coming in off a hard momentum changing loss against the Canes. And the best part about the team is like every guy, every night, you never know who's going to pop off. Hedel last night, Mott's all over the ice, Igor, I can't get enough of the team. I'm ready for tomorrow. I feel like even though the games against the Canes at Carolina have been rough, we still have been in all of them. Like, let's say that Ryan Strome goal happened, that would have sucked the wind out of that building. And that's what I'm looking for tomorrow night. Like, Panarin, the big guys, step up. Kid line keeps doing what the kid line does best and grinding. Tyler Mott all over the ice, everywhere on the power play kill. Like, we've shut their power play down. So that has been huge for us. And if we can get some momentum going on the ice tomorrow night and just keep shooting the puck, good things will happen.
So, I mean, Goudreau coming back, to touch on what you said, was massive. And I mean, it's so cool to see it the way that it happened, because nobody, including Vetrano and Kopp, were getting interviewed about it after the game. Nobody knew that was going on. They see him at the rink and they're like, wait a second, this dude's playing tonight? And it shows you the
He
grit.
walked in a boot, I heard.
So here's the thing, man. Goudreau, this is like 4 weeks ago. He had a fractured foot. I mean, that's not an accurate timetable. I mean, whatever.
6 weeks, depending on how bad it is.
Right. And you have to be in, I'm talking from someone who's been in sports my entire life with multiple leg injuries, you have to be in phenomenal shape to be able to and probably went to surgery whatever that night or the next day. But I mean, good God, to be even mobile in 2 weeks, because you got to think that he's been
skating. To take the face off.
Dude, and to be out there shows you the confidence that the line has, that
face off.
Be out there when as soon as the puck drops. I feel like it really, to me, when the lineups came up on the screen last night, I was like, man, show me a blemish. And then the other thing is, we were talking about this at the game. We haven't had this full team really operating. Now we're getting Mott back. Now we're getting Goudreau back. The bottom part of it a little bit is going to smooth it out, which I think would only alleviate pressure from the top lines. But we haven't seen everybody mesh at the same time the entire time, right? So there's been times where Shesty's been amazing, but there's been times where he's been caught kind of for whatever reason. We don't have to get into was it Shesty's fault or whatever. But we've seen Adam Fox take a couple lulls in between scoring the most points by any active defenseman in the playoffs. So it's all this, this inevitable, what if we start cranking? You know what I mean? What if we're healthy, and we're everybody but Blais away from being healthy, which I don't know how much more he would add to our lineup from what we currently have. And that's the great thing about all the additions that we made, is that it made us have to make decisions when it comes to icing a lineup. I feel like this is kind of the optimal lineup, if I dare say so.
Well, like I mentioned just while you were talking about it, so Kakko, I still feel like is in a lull. He hasn't hit his like prime yet. Like we say it every time we
His
text.
moments.
Yeah, he hasn't had his moments out there. We text every day about like, Laugh looks like every game, like looks just like if it was NHL 22, it would just be like "Toot, toot," like every time he plays, just a little bit. And Hedo really like, those Hedo shots weren't falling during the season. Like we've heard the fan base complaining about it. They wanted him traded at the deadline. But look, obviously this is why we are fans and we are here talking about it and we are not making the big time decisions because they knew something, the right guys to bring in. I saw an interview with Drury and he said that like all his guys, his scouts were like, you got to get Tyler Mott. Like you got to get Tyler Mott. And look, we really got him back at the right time and he is really helping out, like killing power plays, that walk up the ice, like they were like, "Oh, Tyler Mott, this is the fourth line after that Aho rush." Like they're like, "We're just gonna let him walk right up," and I was like, "You're just gonna let him walk right up?" Because Tyler Mott, he'll just take the ice, like he'll fucking shoot, like shoot
Yeah.
first. And
Here's the thing to think about too about those goals from last night with so let's first of all let's talk about the not goals. So Heedle skates directly through 4 Hurricanes. But it was the McDavid move minus the goal, directly down Broadway, cutting through everybody and just finesses it right on net. So I mentioned that because you got to think about it. The boys were traveling north to south. They were going straight. They were shooting the puck because sometimes that east-west shit, man, you got to chill out. And what I love about these goals, they're fourth line, third line goals. So it's absolutely your secondary scoring, but the way that they're scoring is so to the point, which means that it's repeatable against a guy like Ranta, who everybody's saying like that was a soft goal or whatever. Is that not a goal that he would have allowed during the regular season? I mean, this guy is punching
was a
above his
clapper,
weight.
like it was a
Right,
hard
he's
shot.
punching above his weight, and he's got a .936 save percentage in the postseason for, in my opinion, no good reason. I mean, like he's been playing great. Yes, he stole some games. I mean, we've made him look like a good guy, but let's not forget that there was a third string goalie in there last night. The score could have been 7-2. I mean, it could have been an absolute like.
Did you see
vomit.
ESPN with that ruthless interview with
So
Rod Brindamore
and
right in
Rod
front?
Brindamore in front of Ranta. Okay, so do you not think that he has to pull him though? In my opinion, I think I've wanted the coach in multiple cases over the last few years to pull the goalie at 3 goals when it's just obvious that he doesn't have it, because sometimes you get to that 4th, 5th goal and it's like pulling the goalie ain't gonna do shit.
Well, I
Brindamore
think
pulled him
that's
at 3
Gallant
nothing,
did
and then
it.
it's 3-1. So I mean, there's some
Gallant
merit
did
to
it
what
in
he did.
Pittsburgh.
I'm sorry.
Gallant did it in Pittsburgh, so that's like, like I think a sign of a good coach. Like, it's not so much the player, it's the game you're playing at the time. Like, so, just a cool down. We're gonna regroup, game 7, let's go. So I thought that was the right call by Brindamore.
I think so too. And then the Rangers fan in me thinks that shows you how much confidence he has in him, man. Because I think Gallant pulling Shesty is a different thing than Brindamore pulling Ranta. I think Brindamore pulling Ranta is we need to do something different. I think it has nothing to do with a goalie like Shesty getting pulled. Gallant's like, we need to do something different. Sure, this has nothing to do with Shesty. Fraud said this had nothing to do with Ranta, but when you'd
Well,
rather put it,
when you're already on your backup and like you don't know where Anderson's at, like you can't insult, especially doing the interview right in front of him. Like you cannot be like, yeah, like Ranta, like if we could only have Anderson out there, like.
Yeah, and how about the proposition? I'll steal your question about Freddie Anderson maybe pulling Jari duty in this case, and
I could see it happening.
maybe he does. And you know what? I think either way, I'm fine with it. I think either way, give me the guy straight off the bench, cold. Hasn't done it. We've seen this happen before, and you know what? That's a perfect scenario type of thing. The other thing is, I think Ron to prove that he's human, and I think that crowd, the MSG crowd specifically, chanting Ronta's name in not a good light, man, that's got to send goosebumps, man. It does for me. It's got to send goosebumps for the guy that's sitting there on the ice. And
it's got
I was so happy. If you're listening to this and you were at that game, man, I am so proud of you, because we were at that game 7 against Pittsburgh, and that place was screaming, and you hear, you know, I'm reading on Twitter, I'm reading everybody saying this place is quiet. I was like, this place is shaking. I can feel it in my heart. This
You
place
could
is
feel it.
going nuts. And it must be something different with the way that ESPN records their games, man, because you could hear everybody loud and clear. I mean, the emotion into that game, every chant leaded into the next, every song was being chanted over at an audible. I mean, it was awesome. Hats off to everyone who I'm sure doesn't have a voice today, that was at that game, because that's the real home ice advantage. And Stan Fischler kind of noted on this, and I would happen to agree that I don't know how much momentum this is going to carry over, but I would be willing to bet on Igor, and I would be willing to bet that that place quiets up, like you said, like a vacuum cleaner. Like
Well, like
I
I
that
said,
thing gets that place is gonna get shut.
we've been looking for that momentum swing, like, and just to shut that place down. Like I said, if we had shut him down with that Ryan Strome goal and it wasn't called offsides with Copy in there, like that place was quieting down quick. Like, but then that lit up the crowd and that got him back into it. Just like the first game where we were 1-0 the whole third period to like the last 2 minutes 40 seconds. It's like we were just pitching the puck down ice like that. But that place like was quiet. Like if we could have just gotten another goal, one of those ones to fall, like it would have dropped. Like, so that's what we need tomorrow night. Like someone to come out quick momentum changer, and then to just never stop pressing the gas pedal.
So like for me, you know, you look at, like we were talking about a moment ago, about how not everybody's been clicking all at one time. For me right now, man, you know, you're looking at the thing that makes the playoffs. You're looking at the thing that makes the Stanley Cup playoffs what it is. Those guys that come up with those massive goals that fans remember for years. And you know, we've seen this before with
Look at your dad on the train, Tanner Glass.
Look, man, this is one of those things where you need every single guy, even the sandpaper players. You need it from your top guys. You need it from your leaders. There's a reason why Goodrow wears a letter, and the presence of him being back in the lineup, I feel like last night was felt. And I feel like when you have all those role guys stepping up that are becoming leaders on this team, and they're becoming staples on this team, you know, there's already, you know, paragraphs calling for, you know, if Mott doesn't get re-signed, you know, like these guys
I was seeing that today. I was like, how are they already? Let's get through game 7 Monday, people.
They're
Let's
endeared
slow
in
the
our
roll.
hearts. You know,
I know.
they're staples to the team, I feel like. And
I love this team. Like, that's it.
And one of the things is too, you know, we scored. This was the highest scoring game of the series. We scored within the first 10 minutes. Nobody scored within the first 10 minutes of the entire series. A big part of that game was setting the game plan early, and I don't feel like we were really outplaying them. I remember being a Rangers fan. I mean, this ever since I could walk, but I remember so many seasons watching a game where we were outplaying the other team. We put more shots against the other team, but the other team was a better team. They were a more patient team, and they sat and they waited. And one time, maybe 2 times, the Rangers would make a mistake, and inevitably the better team would come out on top, having less shots, less chances. We just felt so defeating. And inevitably they'd score that third goal, or whatever it would be, in a 3-1 loss, 3-2 loss. And I just remember those at a visceral level. And last night felt so different that I can tell you what, man, I feel like we're going to come out and cream these guys. I feel like we're going to shove it up their ass. The building is going to be quiet. And I feel like we're going to prove to ourselves and to this fan base that we're going to move on to the Bolts, who
on a 9-day rest. On a 9-day rest.
We've beaten the last 3 days on a 9-day, 3 games on a 9-day rest against Vasilevsky, against Igor. We got Nate Dogg against McDavid on the other side. I mean, this is crazy. Nobody and their mother would have ever said, yeah, it's going to be the Oilers versus the Rangers in the finals. And there's a non-0% chance that happens. And I feel like we're really lucky. But like,
you're going to need that luck tomorrow, Steve.
But at the same time, man, count our blessings. You know, we made it this far. I'm not dissatisfied in the least. And I mean, this is definitely, win or lose, this is going to be something that we talk about for a really long time. So happy to be here.
Steve, cannot wait for 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Can't come soon enough, man.
All right, Steve. Thank you.
Glad we got to chop it up, brother. Be well. Be
Be
safe.
well. Stay safe.